Hey everyone, it's Goddess Rhonda here, doing an awesome interview with the very way awesome Jack Mercer.
Good evening, Rhonda.
Good evening. And we are so grateful to have this interview with you on Pagan Business News because we do what we can to expand who we talk to. We like to have variety, we love to have diversity. And when I saw that you are a psychic, a healer, a reverend, and you're blind, the fact that you have overcome that challenge, if you even consider it to be a challenge, was just fascinating to me. And to share that with our audience, to show that there is no challenge that can get in the way. If you truly want to do something, that you can just go ahead and do it, and that nothing should stop you. And also, as a magical practitioner, we have the awesome universe helping us to overcome whatever it is. So if one thing is missing, they'll give us something else to make up for it.
Yes.
So I was just very eager to talk to you and find out about you, because I think that you already, before I even ask you a whole bunch of questions, I already think you're very way cool.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you. I'm going to enjoy this interview.
Awesomeness. So first, as we get started, Jack, please tell us about your spiritual journey and how you got started.
All the easy questions right up front.
Yep.
I'd have to say that my spiritual path really started probably at the beginning of this lifetime, but my earliest recollections were around 5. Was when I first recall having affirmed contact with those that I work with on the other side. And from there, it just got hairier. I had no teachers on this side until I hit a high school age, and then finally somebody pulled me aside and said, "I understand what you're going through here." Because prior to that, I was telling people premonitions and things that I probably shouldn't have, because a lot of it was true. There was nothing that could be done about it, and a lot of it was, some of it wasn't pretty. And for a middle school age person, that was not a good way to be popular with people.
Right.
So I went through that, but high school, everything kind of turned around. I got it all figured out, and it's been pretty much. I'd have to say I started out following some druidry, which the shamanistic aspects of these different paths are what really called to me. From there, I kind of went into more of an eclectic sort of witchcraft, and I stayed in that place for a long time. And now I kind of I've moved on to more shamanistic witchcraft, sort of very nature-based, very close to the earth,
Mm-hmm.
very ancestor-based, a lot of ancestor work. And I feel called to clergy work. I feel called to community service and helping tie community and helping strengthen that web and try to make sure that space is open for all the different threads to come and make up the tapestry.
That's really beautiful. And I have to tell you, even just sitting across from you through the ethers of the internet, you have a very calming energy about you. It's very, very soothing, very, very spiritual. I really, really love your energy.
You would never guess that I have a severe a fear of public speaking. So
Would never know that. In
no,
fact,
grounding and centering, that's what it's all about.
it's awesome because your energy is just so soothing and so calming. And I think a lot of us as spiritual practitioners, we visit, when we first get started, we visit various traditions and things like that before we settle into something. I like to think of it as we go through the different traditions, we're sort of having a refresher course from our other lifetimes when we did those things. So we get kind of a little refresher course, remember, and then we move on to what it is we're supposed to be doing
Yeah,
And
a recension, because I'm very interfaith, and I believe that all of the world's traditions hold a piece of the truth. So
absolutely, I am right there. I call myself a universalist because I
yes,
actually believe the same exact
yes,
thing. So
yes,
that's really
yes.
awesome. So for our next question now, so as a universalist, is there a certain tradition that you feel more gravitated towards, or do you just like to think of yourself as a nature shaman and universalist?
That's a really good question, because the further I go into it and the more that I appropriate, the more that I feel I've been down all of these roads already.
Right.
Um, it feels like a recension, like a remembering.
Mhm.
Because so many things come to me naturally. When I pick something up and start working towards it, it might take almost like a refresher course, like you had stated, but so many things just seem to come natural. Um, yeah, so is there any particular single tradition that I'm drawn to? Not really, not really. I really like working with the spirits of the land
Mhm.
in the area that I work with.
Mhm.
And I really kind of make it my business to study everybody's practices, to kind of delve in. Right now, I'm being pointed towards delving into Taoism a little bit more.
Oh,
Um,
good. I love Taoism.
yeah, yeah, and I've mainly been I've worked with a lot of spirit, but as of late, there's been some deity that have been coming to me, and apparently there's some work that they'd like for me to do. So I'm getting nudged into directions that I never thought that I would have.
Uh-huh.
But that's, to me, it's all about the journey. There, it's not about the destination.
Right.
So we're here to walk down all these paths, I think.
Yes, we are. And I think good for you for being open enough to
Yeah.
explore those
Yeah.
avenues that Deity is sending you down. And
Yeah.
obviously, you're also very spirit led. So I
Yes,
believe that being spirit led is the highest teachings
it is.
you can get. It says a lot about your soul's evolution and how far you have matured. That's really very, way cool.
Yeah. That is predominantly my practice, is very spirit led. As I've been saying lately, I do what I'm told.
Well, you know what? I have found that when you don't do what you're told,
Yes.
the repercussions are not good.
It's true. And what I've actually found is I can try not to do what I'm told, but eventually I'm going to do what I'm told. They're going to come back around. They're going to have their way, and I can drag my feet. It's just like being a child sometimes.
Yes,
So,
yes,
and the
yes,
older that I get, this go round, I realize that. So I usually don't put up a fight when I know they're gonna have their way in the end.
exactly. That is so true. That is so very true. Well, one of the things that struck me when I went on your site and looked at your picture on your Facebook page was I love that red and white robe that you're wearing is just simply gorgeous.
Oh,
And
oh
I'm
yeah.
wondering, what do you just like it because of the color, or does it symbolize something for you?
That's a lot of times that's the style of dress that I wear, and I believe in that photo that you're talking about. I'm wearing a caftan. Um,
Yes.
and that is one that I wear frequently to ritual when the weather's nicer. And I just bumped up my wardrobe with a few more caftan selections. And it is significant because that is the piece. A lot of times, I've worn that in ritual, and a lot of people say it looks like in photos I look like it's the sundown, like I'm kind of dusk or something.
Mhm.
There was one ritual where I wore that, representing the element of water, and the altar that I had was very watery, and then me standing behind the altar with it on was very much so an abstract depiction of like sunset over the ocean, or
Right.
um, so yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Well, it's just stunning and it's just beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Well, now I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about how being blind has affected your work, how it has challenged you, but also how it has enhanced your work as well.
As far as I challenged my work, it makes it difficult to get to events
Right.
since I'm not able to drive. But as far as challenging my work, I really don't see it so much as a challenge. Really, what technology has allowed for me to do, or not technology, I apologize, but what the blindness has allowed for me to do is to not be so reliant and dependent on Maya, on illusion, and what's out there, and be able to focus more on what's going on internally.
Mm-hmm.
But I also was actually not born blind. I was born visually impaired. So I was legally blind, but I could see color and I could see regular print as long as it was like right up on my face.
Right.
And that I went on that way until my teen years, and then that's when I went blind. But I went blind like 3 times, 3 different times, like 3 different ways too. And that was kind of an interesting thing. They kept reviving my vision, and in my late teens is when I finally, just before I turned 18, I developed a cataract, and removing that is what caused me to go blind, ultimately.
Oh,
But
wow.
all of really for me, what it's done instead of being a challenge is it's helped change my perspective. It's really just a piece of who I am. It's what I carry. It's what has lent to my outlook, I think, and to the work that I do. I think if I wouldn't have been blind, I may not have been as spiritual as I am. I had hesitate to say that. I don't know that, but I definitely find a lot of my strength for my spirituality in my blindness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
I can totally dig that. Are you a medium as well?
yes, yes. The spirits have found no limitation in the ways that they like to communicate with me,
Mhm.
and it's all been a part of the path. What I do now and how I work with the spirits looks nothing like it did 20 years ago. It's just as powerful. It's just as potent. The work is still there, but it's just completely different.
That is so very way cool because, it's very easy for us, many of us, to make excuses as to why we cannot accomplish something. We're too
Mhm.
busy, or this is going on, or we're not smart enough, or we're not this enough, or we're not whatever it is. And so when I see someone like you who's like, blind, what's that got to do with anything? And you're just doing all of these wonderful things and wonderful works and
Yeah.
being of good service to other people. I just think that is so inspiring. And I think that when people
Thank you.
actually listen to this interview, it will make them say, maybe those excuses I've been using aren't real excuses that are going to keep me from doing something. Maybe I just need to go ahead
Yeah.
and do it. So I
Yeah.
just find that you're an inspiration. I wanted to introduce
Thank you. Thank you, Goddess.
you because it is very true. You're an inspiration, especially to me. Just seeing you, it's like, you know what, Rhonda, sometimes you could be a little lazy and you need to step it up. But I'm doing that. But anyways, so this is about you. So tell me about some of your work that you do. I know that you're a minister, you're a reverend.
Mhm.
So tell me
Yes.
what kind of work that you do as a reverend, the types of people you help, the types of services and work that you offer.
Um, well, as far as my clergy work goes, I make myself available for any type of spiritual guidance or counseling that anybody wants to approach with. But hi, Mika. I got company here.
Oh,
Um, German Shepherd came to visit.
I love dogs.
Yeah, she's a wonderful dog. But I rites of passage. I do weddings. You know, I'm really about serving community for the most part. So to cover this question's kind of difficult because whatever community calls of me at any given time, I do find that it goes in cycles. What
Hmm.
seems to be requested of me predominantly, but I found no limit to the work that I'm doing at this point in time. I get a lot of requests for energy work, a lot of private requests, especially when people have loved ones going through surgeries and through illness and different challenges like that. So that's one thing that I do on a regular basis. But I go out and do perform energy work for people who need blockages removed and
Mhm.
all of that type of work. Lately, I've been going out to the psychic fairs and just having a lot of fun connecting with people doing the bone
Right.
readings. That's an absolute blessing.
Well, that actually makes the perfect segue to talk about your bone readings. Now, how did you
Mhm.
get into doing bone readings?
Uh, Interesting question. Okay, I should have a better answer for this, really. Well, when I used to do fairs, I used to rely on clear audio. But now, if I allow myself to be open enough to hear that much information, it becomes overwhelming because I'm hearing too much from all of the everything around me. So I have to close myself off most of the time, which means that I needed to figure out a tool to work with.
Right.
And I was trying to work with tarot, but uh, even though I now have a braille deck, it still seems to be a visual medium. All of the teachers have approached me, always want to resort to, hey, stare at oh wait, no, you don't stare at the pictures. What does the card say to you? Well, it says the magician in braille. That's all it says to me. So I kind of set that aside, and I still use tarot like on my altar and for different work, but as far as divination, it's not my medium, and I've accepted that. And I've done some work with the runes. I have some that have engraved runes in them, so I'm able to work with those. It's slow going, but I'm progressing. But the bones, though, that's an interesting thing. Many of the pieces that are in my set I've had for over a decade, and I've been collecting them from different gatherings, from rituals, from powwows, from different sacred events, from wherever I go, and just throwing them in pouches and junk drawers and wherever else. And when this quest for a tool came about, this started getting whispered to me. Um, the first thing, to be honest, that went through my mind was the old movie from the 80s, Willow. Um, there's a part where the village member, the High Eldwin, which is their high elder person, decides he's going to throw the bones. That kept going through my head, and I just kept hearing this clip from this movie. There was actually a couple clips, and so I got online and started looking up
Mhm.
throwing the bones, and then I completely understood why over the last several months I'd been gathering these pieces out of drawers and out of pouches and out of different places and assembling them. And then I started moving towards what does this mean and how does it work? Um, and I kept looking for teachers. I kept looking for books, but none of it is available to me. All the books are in print and not electronically, so I wasn't able to go that medium. And there's some information online. And now where I'm at, I've connected with other people in groups, but I kept getting whispered, you have plenty of teachers. The teachers are all around you. All of the people that you meet, all of the little trinkets that float past you, all have something to say. We're all talking to you. Just keep listening. And the journeys went so quick. I've only been throwing the bones for about a year and a half now,
Mhm.
and it when I tell people that, they assume that I've been throwing them for 20 years now.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just incredible. It's just one of those things when you know what fits. It's like finding home.
That's awesome. And it does help when you find your medium. It's like, putting on a nice warm robe. It
Yeah,
just fits really, really well.
yeah.
Now, I have to ask, this might sound like a silly question, but I'm going to ask for myself and our viewers out there.
Hmm.
Are these real bones or what are they made from?
There are real bones. There are stones in there that are the little totem statues, rabbit and snake and these types of things. There are still some charms in there. There's keys. There's a hand of Hamza in there. There's actually a little RAM expansion chip in there, because I felt the need as I kept working to have something to talk about technology, whether that be online communications or gadgets or someone who works closely with computers. I kept feeling the need. And so this piece kind of fell across my lap, and I keep waiting for it to go out of the set to tell me its time is over and that this new piece is coming in to represent the technology piece, but that has not happened yet. But it's so out of place in the set. It's just this little chip, little computer piece. But yeah, there's real bones. There's some tortoise shell in there. There's antler coin. I think I have 8 teeth in there right now from alligator and shark and goat and horse and boar and you name it. I'm collecting teeth now.
So give us an idea of the symbolisms of these items, the little statues that you have, the teeth.
Yeah.
How do you determine the symbolism as far as if I came up to you and said, okay, go ahead and do that for me, and you've got, various teeth and things that come out, like what is the symbolism behind those pieces?
It really depends on the piece. Like I was just explaining to somebody who sat with me over the weekend, when we sit down for a bone reading, it's a conversation. It's a conversation between the person who sat down, myself, all of the pieces and their individual voices, and then all of our ancestors, spirit guides, any helpers that want to come in and join us that have any messages that need to be delivered. Now, as far as the meanings of the pieces themselves, some of them have as many as a dozen meanings. So some of them, it just kind of depends on who they're neighboring by when they fall and what house they fall in on the wheel. But as far as my pieces go in my set, some pieces I go out in search of a piece with a specific meaning. Like I'll find that I need one that's talking about career and jobs and filling our time with the things that we love doing, this type of thing. And I might go out in search of this specific piece. Or a piece might fall into my lap and say, hey, I'm going in your set now, and I mean this.
Right.
And every once in a while, a piece comes into the set and says, I belong in the set, but I'm not telling you what I mean. One of the pieces that's in my set that has that example is black walnut shell, and it's half a walnut shell.
Uh-huh.
And it was in the set, and I thought it meant something to do with business and financial matters, but it kept throwing a big question mark, a big monkey wrench into the reading, and I just wasn't understanding why this was. And finally, one day I said, okay, look, today, if you keep doing this to me, I'm pulling you out when we go home. This is it.
Right.
The very next reading, it came up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you're half a walnut shell. Oh, you're lacking. You're missing the other half. So many times when that piece comes up, it's talking about lacking. But also on the inside of the shell, there is some divots, and a lot of people comment when they look in there that they see an owl, and other people comment that they see a heart. And so some of the pieces, it depends on what the person sitting with me sees in the piece, helps me point into what area of lacking we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the pieces kind of, yeah, it's very intuitive, and it's very spirit-led, and I'm constantly fascinated.
Well, it's funny that as you're sitting there talking,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it was a guide or whoever it was. Someone stood beside you and said, would you please tell him that he's supposed to be teaching classes and he's supposed to create this set of bones and sell it and teach it and do videos and things like that. Like you're supposed to take this to the world more globally, instead of just locally. And so I just wanted to pass that on to you.
Thank you, Rhonda. They're pretty loud and clear, and I just keep asking them how. That's the bit of it. So, but we're working that way. We've got a collaborative effort going here.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Even just doing the videos, because this is something that is it's very old school throwing bones, but you don't see it done
I know.
very much. Most of the times, if you go to an event, a psychic event, everyone's got their cards out, or
Yes.
the different things that they do. I don't think I've ever seen anyone throw bones, and I would
Yeah.
love to learn about that, to learn from you, to take if you have a class, or you can do online classes, which would probably it's easier to do online, and then you can also do videos and things like that. But I just
Hmm.
think that you should get more notice and attention for what you're doing, and you definitely have the energy to pull that off, because your energy is so soothing and calming. I believe you could really get an excellent following if this was something that you decided to do.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you very much.
Because I
I
just think it's cool. I want to come over. I wish I lived there. I'd come over right now and say, okay, I need to know. I need you to do a reading for me with that, because I just, first of all, I love anything that is old school. I love
Yeah.
old school
Yeah.
crystal balls and palmistry and things like that. And I hate to see these traditions being lost. And so you can make this old thing new again. And I just think that since you're so gifted at it, you would be the perfect teacher of it.
Oh, thank you, Rhonda. Thank you so much. I feel like actually you just blessed me with that. So
Well, I hope so, because I would love to see you do that. And also, so how do people find you if someone wants to hook up with you and ask you for a spiritual consultation, or a distant healing, or an in-person healing if you do those as well, since you're very well-rounded with your skills? How would they go about doing that? Do you have a website, or should they contact you through Facebook? How can they get an appointment with you?
right now I am working on improving my online presence because it looks like it's done by a blind person. Um, on Facebook is the best way to find me right now, and that's at facebook.com/REVJRM, and that will take you to my Reverend Jackie Renbu Mercer page, and then you can contact me, send me messages through there if you'd like to get a hold of me. Um, I believe my phone number's on on my page and everything. So that's right now that's the best way to get a hold of me. Hopefully that very soon in the future that will change.
Awesome. Well, no, at least the people, as long as they can get in touch with
Yeah.
you, and just to reiterate for our viewers, what services can you offer them to help them regain or gain control of their lives or their future, or find their path?
I can offer divination services. I do just about any rites of passage, births, deaths, and everything in between. Um, I do energy clearing, energy work. I do different types of hands-on healing, Reiki practitioner, and I perform Limpia, and so different types of energy work. I do breathing exercises, and I lead guided meditations. These right now are some of the primary things that I'm doing. And like I said, I take requests if anybody needs any long distance healing requests or anything. I
That's
do
beautiful.
that.
And you also do Olympias as well.
Yes, I do. Yep.
That's a
Yep.
beautiful thing. I
Very
love
much so.
those.
I do too, and it's so needed nowadays too. I mean, I don't even get me started. There's so
Oh,
much
geez, by
energy work.
all means,
We all need
it's
energy work. We need this spiritual, energetic hygiene on a regular basis, especially if you work with energies or
yeah,
you're sensitive to energies.
yes,
Yeah,
very
grounding,
much.
centering, and energetic hygiene.
And if someone who is listening tonight or watching this interview with you wanted to find out how they can throw bones or increase their psychic awareness, what do you
Mhm.
suggest where do you suggest they start?
Although I'm not able to read the book myself, if you're really interested in getting into throwing the bones, I would check out the book by Michelle Jackson. I think it's called Bones, Stones, and Totems.
Hmm.
Um, And from what I understand, it's an excellent book that really goes through how that all works, and different ways you might assign meanings, and how she interprets meanings. Besides that, just kind of meditate on it and listen to the spirits. Let them guide you. Start gathering the pieces, and make yourself open to that, because as someone told me before who relies on their oracle cards, there's no way that they could do what I do because it's far too intuitive. There's not a booklet that came with a pre-arranged assembled set. It's something that is just kind of, it's very close to me. I'm known to call them my children. So, but that is basically, yeah, there's some resources online. You can go to luckymojo.com, and I think they have a decent amount of information that would get somebody started in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I am working on starting to offer online video throwing
Beautiful.
sessions. Yeah, so hopefully we have that to look forward to soon.
That is beautiful. Well, that's just awesome. And what message would you like to leave our viewers with this evening?
I remember to show each other the same love. Show each other love and show yourself love. That's what we have to work with right now. We need to lift each other up instead of put each other down. This is where we're at right now. We're in some pretty difficult times, and as an activist, I know has put it, if we're not exhausted by the end of this reign, we're not doing it right. So we need to have each other's back and be there for each other to lean on. So
That's actually a very beautiful thing that you just said, is having each other's back and
yeah.
be there for each other to lean.
Oh, I may have lost. Oh no.
Know that you can reach Jack if you go on Facebook and put his name in, you'll see his name. And also, you said, just repeat for us one more time, facebook.com/
REVJRM, RevJRM.
There you go. If you want to get in touch with the very way awesome Jack. And also, Jack, before I let you go, if someone asked you, would you do private tutoring with them to help them increase their psychic abilities? Or
I would do that. Yes, I would do that. Yep.
Okay, that's perfect. So you can also get some private tutoring from him as well if you have something of interest that he's spoken about tonight, or even if he hasn't spoken about it, ask him anyway. Chances are he probably knows at least something about it.
Oh, absolutely.
This has been Goddess Rhonda for Pagan Business News, interviewing the very way cool Jack Mercer. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a blessed week, and we will see you next time. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.